You see, there's just an awful lot of context here that becomes relevant in the future. And the arrangement of those segments is just awful.
It's awful.
The phosphor formulation in this tube is awful.
But the windows were awful.
Road conditions were awful.
These are awful.
This cheap toggle switch is what I'd consider awful. That sharp metal thing is awfully close to that scratchable disc. At the time of the cassette's introduction, standard audio tape sounded pretty awful at the slow speed of 1 7/8 inches per second. I took a really awful vinyl record that I'd be happy to destroy.
Yamaha rather smartly designed this thing an awful lot like a computer keyboard.
The ride's capacity would be pretty awful if only one train was allowed on the course at once. Wowzers, not only does the picture quality look noticeably more awful, but the sound has taken a dive. Seems awfully specific.
The color resolution of consumer videotape is quite awful.
This coal gas infrastructure looked an awful lot like the electric lights that would replace them in no small part, and that was with the frankly awful towel placement. Though, to be honest, when powered up, that thing is awful bright, so I'm not sure how long-lived it actually would be. If this sounds an awful lot like a precursor to teletext, that's because it is. You have to drive an awful lot and with a pretty inefficient vehicle for this to not meet your daily needs. I don't think it's awful by any means. That looks an awful lot like a bimetallic strip. This looks an awful lot like a plain old motor. Remember how I was saying that this film is awful? Well, yeah. A light meter is awfully handy. You do an awful lot to ease these challenges of the grid. And awful. And the thermostat is just awful. Less awful.
Pinball machines are an awful lot of fun.
And it wasn't awful, but it smelled horrible. You may know that I think an awful lot about automotive lighting. That's awful darn close to what my thermostat just told me. Thank you for subscribing, for watching my videos all these years, and leaving me with this bright spot at the end of an otherwise incredibly awful year.